Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about something I've actually been dreading ever since I heard the CW was making this, and that is the live-action Powerpuff Girls TV show that the CW is producing. Now, to be honest, I love the Powerpuff Girls, okay? I started watching them at my last year of high school. I was in the 12th grade, and I've been watching them ever since. The Powerpuff Girls are awesome. They started off as a cartoon on Cartoon Network. It's about these three little girls that are created by mistake. They are created when Professor Utonium was trying to make, I think, the perfect little girl or something like that. He was trying to do something, and then he was trying to make the perfect little girl. He used sugar, spice, and everything nice. But then Chemical X got into the concoction, thanks to Mojo Jojo. And then, of course, just like the intro says, the Powerpuff Girls are born. And they're these bizarre looking, they look like Cabbage Patch dolls. They have these giant round heads, these slender bodies, these long slender arms and legs with like no curves to them. They have kind of like these mittens for hands that are kind of like sock hands and mitten sock hand type feet. And they have these giant bug eyes. And, you know, they all have different personalities. Bubbles is like the cute, bubbly baby one of the family. Blossom is kind of like the overachiever, smart person, the leader of the group. She likes to like rat everybody up. She's a goody goody two shoes is what she is. And then you have Buttercup, who's like the hardcore one of the group, who is very angry. She's critical. She likes to beat people up a whole lot more than the other ones. She's just your typical bad girl. And on top of all this, they have superpowers. They can fly. They have super speed. They are really strong. They're really, I always said speed. Let's see. Blossom has ice breath, and they all have heat vision. And what made the Powerpuff Girls so great is like their personalities and the way they fight. When they fight villains, they beat the living snot out of them. You see blood, you see guts, you see broken limbs. And this was on Cartoon Network. It's supposed to be, people, they assume it's a little kid show, but it's far from that. Like they literally beat the living crimson waves out of you. And it was just like the coolest thing ever. But it was also like a little comedy sketch cartoon, you know? So it was just like so much fun to watch. It was just like awesome. Then they came out with the animated movie, and that was cool too. Even though it was a bit of a continuity issue with the whole Mojo Jojo thing. But that's okay, you know? But yeah, well, because like the way he meets the Powerpuff Girls, like you have to watch it to find out. But anyway, it was just a great little cartoon. All of the villains weren't even human. They had Mojo Jojo, who was like a monkey. They had the amoeba boys that were amoebas. They had these humanoid, like green people who called the gang Green Gang. They had Fuzzy Lumpkins, which was kind of like this little grizzly bear type dude. And then they had him, which was the devil, which was this flamboyant, like almost kind of drag queenish type like dude with claws. They had kind of like these crab claws for hands, and he was kind of pinkish red, and he talked in a very like sexual kind of like homosexual type like way, and the way he acted, it's like he was like an interesting character, and he was so cool and stuff. Especially that time when he was like in the bathtub scene and he's like talking, and then when he gets like serious pissed, his voice turns very devilish like. But they couldn't call him the devil on the show because it was a kid's show, so they had to call him. And so I've always wanted this to be like a live action like movie, not a show, you know, because the reason why I wanted to be a live action movie was because of the girl's appearance. There's no way to do that with real life people unless you're gonna put like prosthetics on their hands and feet and just have them look like regular people, you know. But the best way to do in the movie, of course, is through CGI. And you know, they've done some pretty good jobs when it comes to CGI like older cartoons and brought them into live action and stuff. So that would have been like the proper way. But then the CW revealed they're gonna make a live action mature show. A live action show where the girls are now in their 20s. They're delusional because they felt like they spent their entire life fighting crime, and it ruined their childhood to where they didn't have a childhood. And now they're just going through the motions, and I think they're starting to get back into crime fighting or some crap like that. Basically, it's because I don't like the CW. I don't. I really, really don't. And if you don't know about the CW, okay, it started off as a merger between the UPN and what's it, WB. Now, UPN had pretty much everything. They had action, they had sci-fi, they had white comedy shows, they had black comedy shows. There was a mixture of like a lot of stuff. And then, but their network were always bad in ratings. The only thing that was really good for them was pretty much just Star Trek Voyager. But you know, when I watched a lot of this stuff, and a lot of this stuff did suck, but it wasn't that bad. Even shows that like got one like the comedy shows that only got like one season, they was actually pretty good shows. Like they weren't bad at all. And like I've actually rewatched a lot of their older shows, just like the pilot episode, and they're like really funny. Granted, some jokes are out of date and very offensive, and it wouldn't work in today's time, but if you get past that and watch the rest of the episode, it's like awesome and stuff. Now, there were some shows that did only last one season that were just dreadful and awful. The WB, I didn't really watch that much because I didn't have cable growing up. But then when I did have cable, I was able to watch them. But then they were starting to like shift a little bit. They mainly had basically white dramas, a few supernatural type shows, action shows. They had white comedy shows, a few black comedy shows, and you know they kind of struggle in the ratings too a little bit. Some of the stuff they didn't do so great. They get canceled really fast. But you know, they from what I saw, some of the stuff was like pretty decent, and then they merged together. And when they merged together, the CW pretty much became the WB, and it had really no trace that much of UPN. It did a little bit in the beginning, but then it quickly phased out, and then it took many years for them to try to bring back that UPN type fit. The only show that the CW has created that I've actually liked and enjoyed was The 100. I love The 100 until The 100 sucked. The last two seasons were terrible. I've also liked the show Containment. That was a really good post-apocalyptic viral show. And it reminded me of what's going on in today's world. But sadly, it only lasted for one season, and that totally sucks. But that show was a remake. But, man, I wish that show would have lasted longer. It ended on a cliffhanger. What could have been? Now, when it comes to the CW, I used to watch a lot of the Arrowverse shows because I used to like, for the most part, their first seasons and a little bit of their second seasons. After that, I just gave up on the CW Arrowverse shows because I might do another video on that later. I don't know. Probably not. It's just the CW show just got too much for me. The Arrowverse shows, I'm so sick of their heroes being reliant on everybody else. I'm tired of them long-winded speeches. I want to see the hero be an actual hero and not be some mopey, depressed little person who's giving a speech on like love or like destiny and all this other stuff and needs like a pep talk in order to beat the villain. That got on my nerves. Now, one thing the CW and Arrowverse shows have been critical of is politics. Politics, woke culture, agenda pushing, whatever you want to call it. I don't necessarily have a problem with this because I'm all for that. I'm a big like advocate on like injustice and stuff like that and diversity. So I don't have a problem with that. My only problem is when it doesn't happen organically and when you just push and you shove it down people's throat or you use the check mark system. That I don't like. I like it when it just flows naturally. And a lot of shows nowadays no longer flow naturally. Now everything's pushed and shoved, and when everything's crammed and pushed and shoved in your face in every episode, then you kind of like want to like phase out of it, you know? Because then it's all like, well, I'm not like this, other people are, and all this other stuff. Also, CW shows do a terrible portrayal of men and women. Like, they're all for women empowerment, which I'm all for too. A lot of shows I watched in the 90s were all about women superheroes, stuff like that. Buffy, Dark Angel, Cleopatra 2525, like you name it, you know what I'm saying? Like I was all into that stuff. But with those shows, it was show don't tell. With the CW, it's tell and don't really show. And if you do show, then degrade your men. And I don't really like that, you know? It really seems like the CW has like a problem with men to where they just hate straight men. And one of those people is Greg Berlanti. Now Greg Berlanti is a gay man. Even though Greg Berlanti is gay, he really seems like he just hates straight men or something like that. And I've even called him out on that online when it comes to the Batwoman show, because now I've been watching the second season to give it like a chance, because I watched the first season and it was kind of okay. You know, there was times where it kind of wasn't, and then I phased out when I stopped watching it. And then when I heard things were getting changed up with a new actress and stuff, I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And so I've been trying to watch it here and there, and one of the things I've noticed is that it just really seems like they hate men. It's like they try to go out their way to make men look like monsters or weak, and women are like the most powerful thing. And not only do they show it, they also keep telling it. And I've called him out on that. I called the CW out on that. I called the other creators out on that, because it's very blatant with all of their shows on the CW. Except for the 100. The 100 never did that. Now, the 100 did show women empowerment, but it never preached to you. And it also had strong men, too. And so, but the 100 was not created by him. But when it comes to him, it's just like, okay, say like Batwoman, right? You have Luke Fox, which is only one of two men on the show. And Luke is constantly getting one up by Mary. There's been so many situations the where them two have bickered back and forth over bat technology, or trying to discover somebody's location, this and that, and she's always one-upping him. When Batwoman was hurt and they drove the Batmobile, no, they drove a regular car to go get her, somebody had to drive the Batmobile back to the Batcave. And guess who won? Mary. Those two bickered, but Mary won. And it's just like, why does Mary get to drive the Batmobile back home when she doesn't know how to work the gadgets in the Batmobile, where Luke does, because his father helped build it and he helps repair it? It would make the logical choice for Luke to drive the Batmobile back home, because he knows what all the little buttons and gadgets does, and she does not. Another time is when they was looking for somebody, and so Luke is using the Bat computer, and the Bat computer is very sophisticated, and he was not able to find somebody. Mary was able to find him on her cell phone using social media. I'm just like, they made him into a weenie. Like, he is a weenie, like plain and simple as that. And so since Greg is making the Powerpuff Girl live action thing, I fear so much that it's gonna be more preaching, talking of women empowerment, more women outdoing men, more men looking like idiots and fools, and without giving a real clear message to true women empowerment. You know, real true women empowerment is that women can do anything a man can. It is not a woman is better than a man, you know, and that's what the message that they're losing. Also, it's kind of like when it comes to that politic type stuff, I don't mind that at all. You know, the older Star Trek shows were very much into that. Person of Interest was into that. Lots of shows in the past did that stuff, but they let it flow naturally through the course of their show, where it will pop up every now and then, and you know, and they'll make their huge statement. The problem with the CW and a lot of new shows that are made in today's era is that it's in every single last episode. And then when you constantly hear about it on the news, and you constantly hear about it on social media, and then it's kind of like the last thing you kind of want to see is that on TV in every single last episode. It'll be okay if it pops up every now and then, but when it happens in every episode and they constantly berate you with that, because they're literally just shoving, they're not like really teaching and stuff, you know. However, my biggest concern when it did come to live action Powerpuff Girls was how they're gonna look. And when I saw these set photos, I'm just like, Lord have mercy. Because I had a feeling they were going to be like real life people, you know what I'm saying, in these costumes and being the Powerpuff Girls. I figured that because it's a TV show, and TV shows are low budgeted, which is what I really feared the most. And so when I looked at these costumes, I'm just like, that's what you came up with? that's supposed to be the Powerpuff Girls dresses, they're so cheap looking. They look like pill slips that are just painted that color. It's cheap material, and it's just like you could have went so much better with that, or you could have upgraded their look to make it look more like, superhero-y type something, you know what I'm saying? Or just like fashion wise, it's just their outfits look so plain and boring. Not to mention, nobody really looks the way they do on the show, like the little cartoon show. Maybe Cameron as Bubbles with the little pigtails and stuff. But it's just like I'm just not feeling it. All I'm seeing is just people in Halloween dresses, dressed as the Powerpuff Girls, running around. That's literally all I'm seeing. Now, as for the cast, I know most of the cast that's been cast in it so far, except for 3 people I'm unaware of. Now, we have the leader of the group, Chloe Burnett as Blossom. And we have Dove Cameron as Bubbles. And we have this person I've never heard of before. She appears to be a singer. Yana Pervault, I think her name is. Pervert or something. I don't know. I have a bad name when it comes to names. She's Buttercup. We have one actress that I've seen before. Now, I've seen Chloe Burnett in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I only watched 2 episodes of the first season, then I stopped. Dove, I've never seen her act in live action ever. I didn't watch none of the Disney shows that she was in. However, I have heard her voice as Ghost Spider in Marvel Rising. So I do like her as Ghost Spider. As for Yana, I've never even heard of her before. I've never heard her music. I've never seen her act. And I hate when singers try to act. It is almost always terrible. So I'm hoping she can do a good job. Now, the CW has decided to diversify this cast, which I am all for. They have diversified the entire Powerpuff Girls. However, my problem with that is, if you're going to diversify them, I would have preferred it if they were all the same race, not multiple races. Dove, who plays Bubbles, she's white. Chloe, who is Blossom, she is white and Chinese. But at first glance, when you look at her, or just when you look at her period, she looks like a white girl. But yeah, she's white and Chinese. And as for the other one, Yana is black and white. And when you look at her, you can kind of see, yeah, she is mixed with something that has black in it. Now, like I said before, I don't have a problem with them changing races up. When they changed Jimmy Olsen to a black dude and Iris West into a black woman, I didn't care. But it's just kind of one of those things where I kind of wish they were all the same race. And I wish Hollywood wouldn't whitewash them. And that's apparently what they have done in the Powerpuff Girls. They are whitewashed. See, with Bubbles, like I said before, she's white, the actress who plays her. Now, Chloe, when you look at her, there's no offense to her. No offense to Chloe whatsoever. This isn't like no kind of shade, nothing like that. But when you look at her, she doesn't look Asian. So it's kind of like, okay, well, if they were going for an Asian Blossom, then why didn't they just cast an actual, like, full-blooded Asian person with Asian features, That would have made more sense. But when I look at Blossom, I'm just going to assume she's a white girl on the show and not that of an Asian girl. Also, why is the Asian girl the smart one of the group? That is so stereotypical. That is something that Asian people are sick and tired of seeing in a lot of American or Western portrayals of them. Asian people are always depicted as either one of 2 things. They're either really good at martial arts or they're super geniuses. And the Asian culture is very tired of seeing that. So it would have made more sense if Chloe were to play Bubbles. Because Bubbles is like the baby of the family. She's cute, she's bubbly, and she's not really all that intelligent like Blossom. Now, as for the so-called whitewashing of Yana, here's my thing about this. It's cool that they got a black girl, but one thing I've noticed about TV shows is that when they do want to cast a black person, they normally go the mixed route. somebody who's normally black and white, who's very light skinned in tone, because in TV shows, their demographic is mainly white people, so they want to appease white people, and so they want to go with a more lighter tone black person. This is what happened in all the live action X-Men movies. Both actresses who play Storm are very light skinned women. They're mixed with black and white. And that's something that's been pissing off a lot of fans, because Storm in the comic books and in the anime series and stuff, she's actually like a black African woman who's, for the most part, dark skinned. And you really don't see too many dark-skinned black people in shows that feature white people. Normally, if you do see a dark-skinned black person who is fully black, you'll mostly see them in like a black, like full-on black show. Because I remember when I used to watch Goosebumps, which was filmed in Canada, but it was an American show, I used to see like a couple of black people here and there. And I used to always see a lot of light-skinned black people who were always the child of a dark-skinned parent on the show. And I remember always asking myself, how did that come about? How is the parent so dark and the child is so light, you know? And normally when I do watch a lot of Canadian shows that are technically American shows, or Canadian shows just in general, when they do cast a black person, they always go the black and white route because they're more light skinned. And very rarely do you ever see a dark skinned black person on like a Canadian show. The black dude from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not the guy who plays Sam, but the guy who's partner with the new Captain America. I believe he is a Canadian actor who I've seen on the show Flashpoint. And he's very dark skinned. I remember when I saw him on Flashpoint, the Canadian show, I was very surprised. I'm like, oh, a dark skinned black person, you know? And so it's like where I am for all the diversity in this cast. My only thing when it comes to the Powerpuff Girls is just I wish they were all the same race. If they wanted to go the Asian route, make them all Asian. If they wanted to go the black route, make them all black. If they want to go the white route, make them all white. Or whatever race, you know what I'm saying? But then if they were going to go the diverse route, they should have went the full diverse route and not the whitewashing diverse route. Now, when they did cast these actresses to play the Powerpuff Girls, one thing that struck me was that, okay, maybe it's probably going to be like the Powerpuff Girls Z, which if you don't know that, that's an anime. And it's your typical anime. They transform, there's goofy stuff, all this other stuff. But instead of getting that power from Chemical X, they get Z rays from outer space. Why? Like, I don't know. And in Powerpuff Girls Z, all of the girls aren't even related. They were actually born from other women and other parents and stuff. And so when they all got hit by the Z-rays, they all came together and they just decided to fight crime. That's an interesting take. And I'm pretty sure that's what the show was going for. But if they're supposed to be created by Professor Utonium, then they just came out different races and stuff. And yeah, there is that tall 4 Powerpuff Girl who is black, but I don't consider that canon only because that comes from the newer Powerpuff Girl reboot, and I don't like that. And the new reboot is not a continuation of the old show. So that's that own separate entity. So she's continuity in the new show, but not the older one that I grew up with. Now, the rest of the cast. Now, they have Donald Feissen playing Professor Utonium. And he's a really funny actor. I've seen him in 2 things. The movie I Can't Hardly Wait, and of course the Clueless TV show. And I love Clueless, the movie and the TV show. I hate Stacey Dash, but I love that show and the cast. He's an extremely funny dude. My only problem with him playing the professor is that I've only ever seen him play comedy stuff. I've never, ever once seen him do serious stuff or drama, and which is really confusing because when it comes to Professor Utonium, the professor is 90% serious and 10% humorous. So I'm curious to know what route they're gonna go with him on that. Now, Robin Lively, she's gonna play Cerebellum. I'm curious to know if they're gonna show her face in this, because one of the recurring gags in the Powerpuff Girl cartoon was you never see Cerebellum's face. You see her hair and you see her body, but you never see her face. Now, I don't know who Robin Lively is. Personally, for me, I would have cast Christina Hendricks as Cerebellum, and you can probably see why. But she's committed to another TV show right now, so that's probably why they didn't go with her. And now for one casting that's very interesting. I don't know how they're gonna portray this. A guy by the name of Nicholas Podney. He's gonna play Mojo Jojo Jr. And I'm just like, um, weird. Okay, if you don't know this by now, Mojo Jojo in the cartoon is a monkey. Period. That's all he is. He was a monkey that was affected by Chemical X, and it caused him to be very smart. And you can see his brain come from like his head. That's why he wears that helmet. Yeah. What route are they gonna go with him on a live action show? Is his son gonna be just human, which is gonna make Mojo Jojo human? Or is his son gonna be in prosthetics and a costume, look like a monkey? Which I'm hoping that's what they do. Or is he gonna be a human monkey hybrid, which I really hope they don't, because it's bestiality. So I'm very curious to know what route they're gonna go with him. If they go the human route, then that means Mojo Jojo will have to be human. And that is blasphemy. Also, if Mojo Jojo is gonna go the human route, then what about all the non-human people in the Powerpuff Girls? Like, what are they gonna look like? Are they gonna be human too? I really hope the CW don't mess this show up, but it's the CW, so you know they're gonna mess it up. They messed up the Arrowverse. They messed up Riverdale. They've messed up. I hope to God they don't mess up Stargirl, because Stargirl was awesome. That was actually a DC Universe show, but it got moved over to the CW. And the second season is supposed to be full on CW, so I'm hoping to God they don't mess that up. But, you know, for all we know, this Powerpuff Girl live action thing might actually be pretty good. I'm gonna check it out. If it's that same Arrowverse crap where people giving long-winded speeches about feelings, this and that, and there's not enough action and all this other crap, then I'm just not gonna watch it. If I wanted to watch a drama, I would go watch a drama, you know? So here's the hoping, here's the praying, but I have a really, really good feeling it's gonna get butchered. And I don't want this to get butchered. I don't want this to turn into The Last Airbender. I I've never seen the Winx Club, but I've heard what it's about, and I heard what the Netflix show is about, and a lot of people are not happy with that. I haven't watched it yet, but it's just kind of like, I wish they would stop remaking things that people love with their childhood to be all serious and dark and completely different than what it's supposed to be in the cartoon. It's just like, you know, they're making a profit off of things we love, and it breaks my heart, man, and like it really does, you know what I'm saying? Well, alrighty. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.